Have you ever wondered whether it is better to present yourself as a serious, no-nonsense person in a job interview, or is it better to smile and look friendly? Our project seeks to explore this question. Is it better to smile in a job interview? In this presentation, we'll talk about four main topics: the methodology, where we introduce our study design, the results and findings, theories and applications, and finally the limitation and implication of our study. So, firstly, the methodology. The study design is composed of three main parts: a pilot study to determine the appropriateness of smiling, the main study to investigate the effects of smiling on impression formation in a job interview setting, and subsequently analysis of our results. First, let us look at the pilot study. The pilot study was carried out using an online survey in which participants were asked to watch 4 videos of different levels of smiling, ranging from no smile to very explicit smiling. To avoid confounding, we employed the same actor in the same setting with the same script. The videos differ only on the level of smiling. After watching each video, the participants were asked to rate the smile of the interviewee in terms of explicitness and appropriateness. The video that scored highest on explicitness and appropriateness combined was chosen as the experimental condition, whereas the video that was rated the most explicit was chosen as the control condition. Now that we have defined our study arm and our control arm, we can proceed to the main study. Participants were randomly assigned to the experimental arm and the control arm. Of the 105 participants who completed the entire survey, 49 of them were from the study arm and 56 of them were from the control arm. After watching the videos, the participants answered 14 questions related to the impression they had on the candidate. We have employed the TIPI for assessing the participants' perception on the Big 5 personality traits of the interviewee on a 7-point scale. Now let us share with you what we found. Overall, the smiling interviewee has a higher mean score on hireability. The data is more spread out for the smile group than the no-smile group. Here is the rating on the personality trait scale. The scores range from 0 to 6. In the smile group, interviewees gave high scores for extroverted, dependable, open to new experience, sympathetic and calm, whereas in the no-smile group, interviewees gave high rating to critical, anxious, easily upset, reserved, conventional, and uncreative. In the no-smile video, 71% of respondents agree that the interviewee should smile more. Regarding demographics, most of our respondents are females. The proportion of gender is almost the same for the two groups. Here is the spread of age group and education level of our participants. Most of them are within the age group of 25 to 44 and are master degree holders. Let's move on to the theories and applications. We are going to illustrate how implicit personality theory, the halo effect, and negativity bias can be applied to our finding. Implicit personality theories emphasize the co-occurrence, expectancies among people's traits and behavior. It is a principle that describes how people's traits go together to form certain types of personality. Such principle can be resistant to change and vary among different people. Here is a diagram showing how the traits are grouped. For example, a person being perceived as clumsy is almost more likely to be considered as naive and intelligent. In our study, when the interviewee smiled, he left a cheerful and happy image to our participants. This can be reflected in the subject's comment in the open-ended question. When we look at why the participants chose to hire the interviewee, some of them mentioned that he seems to have good interpersonal skills, sincere, gentle and friendly. Considering the participants' rating on TIPI scale, the SMILE group showed a high score on traits extroverted, enthusiastic, and sympathetic and warm. It can be concluded that the smiling interviewee is seen more sociable, sincere, good-natured, and warm. Corresponding to the implicit personality theory, these are all traits surrounding the trait happy as shown in the diagram. While smiling leaves a happy image to the interviewer, other traits in the good and soft spectrum are more likely to be perceived. Smiling hence plays a significant role in the interviewer's perception of our personality. Next, our study highlights the halo effect. The halo effect is a type of cognitive bias where our impression of a person influences how we perceive the person's overall character. It can be explained as a cognitive shortcut for us to efficiently make decisions. For instance, if a girl seems nice and well-mannered to you, you are more likely to think that she is smart as well. However, there is, in fact, not much connection between these two statements. In our study, the smiling interviewee leaves a generally more positive impression to our subjects. This can be reflected in the open-ended questions. In the no-smile group, subjects tend to mention negative statements. For example, saying that the interviewee is lacking passion, speaking like a robot, nervous, and not confident. In contrast, in the smile group, the interviewee received more positive comments such as showing confidence, being cheerful, and leaving a good impression. This positive impression is corresponding to the traits rating. The smiling interviewee received higher scores on positive traits, such as being calm, emotionally stable, and open to new experience, and lower scores on negative traits such as being anxious, easily upset, critical, and quarrelsome. The smiling interviewee is thus considered as a more competent candidate and gain a higher score on hireability. All in all, smiling in an interview leaves a more positive impression and generates halo effect. The interviewer will evaluate your overall character more positively and is more likely to hire you. Negativity bias is the idea that, even when of equal intensity, things of a more negative nature have a greater effect on one's psychological state than other things. Results show equal percentage score in the negative and positive impression of respondents in the smile group. However, the no-smile group results illustrated a significant percentage difference between negative and positive impression, with 80% of respondents having a negative impression of the candidate. Negativity bias clouds our objective evaluation of a person based on our subjective evaluation of those information we gather about them. In this case, not smiling triggered a negative evaluation of the candidate and affected the impression he made on the interviewer during the whole interview setting. We believe that not smiling attracts attention because it doesn't fit with the interviewer's expectation of an ideal interviewee. As an attention grabber, it hijacks the interviewer's ability to process other relevant information that qualify the candidate for the position. Let's move on to the limitations and implications in our study. Age, gender, education levels are some extraneous variables. Also, the current study only focuses on impression for the role of operational manager, which do not have clear expectation for the degree of smiling. The expected level of smiling varies from job to job. For instance, salesperson is required to smile more. To sum up, interviewees who smile explicitly and appropriately are more likely to get hired. Smiling interviewees leave positive impression and gains more attention to his or her positive personality traits. Such influence is the other way of not smiling. Yet, this conclusion is limited to jobs that do not have clear preference to the candidate's degree of smiling. Here are the references of the journal articles we have considered in our research. Thank you and keep smiling.